Hey, Michael with XForcePC. We want to talk about a little known and extremely useful feature of X-Plane, and this is actually available to home users, not just professional users. And this is the ability to create an instructor station. So what you can do is you can have your student sitting over here in the flight simulator, and then you can be sitting back here running another copy of X-Plane on another computer. And it doesn't have to be super powerful, but it probably should have a discrete graphics chip in it, an NVIDIA or AMD graphics chip. You want to have an Intel processor. AMD processors don't do well with X-Plane. But what we can do is run a second copy of X-Plane here, and we can actually control all kinds of things that happen over on the student machine. We can control the weather, the location. We can fail any instrument we want. We can make instruments read incorrectly. There's all kinds of things we can do. So what we're going to do in this video is talk about how to set that up and how to use it. PC, we're on the instructor station right now, but the first step in setting up your instructor and student stations would be to find out what the IP addresses are of each of the computers. And the easiest way, I think, to do that is just go ahead and open X-Plane and go to Settings and Net Connections. And when you go to Settings and Net Connections, there'll be two IP addresses typically listed. You want the shorter IP address. Mine here is 192.168.1.253, and I see that right there. So hopefully you can see that, but it'll be pretty apparent when you look at it on your system. So just jot those down, and then we can kind of move on to the next step. Jot that down for both systems, the IP address, and then make note of which is which, which is the student, which is the instructor. Okay, we've made note of our IP addresses, and you'll notice here there are multiple tabs across the top. You want to go to the Instructor tab, and I am on the Instructor station. So what I need to do is I need to go down here and check this first box, because these are all different computers I can control, but I only want to control one. And you want to type in the IP address of the student machine, which I know is 192.168.1.14. And so I've got that. Now, by the way, we're using X-Plane 10.45. They're supposed to change some of the way the layout of some of the screens are for 1050. So you may notice that some of this stuff changes. Now, when I did that, the other computer, the student's computer, automatically popped up this same screen. So let's go take a look at that now. So over on the student's machine, over here, again, on the student's machine, this popped up automatically. And again, some of this might change a little bit for 1050. But I'm going to go over to the Instructor tab again. But instead of going down here at the bottom, I'm going to go up here at the top, and I'm going to check the box of a single student instructor console. And then I'm going to put in the IP address of the instructor station, which is 192.168.1. I could read my handwriting, 253, and then close this. And now we have our instructor station and our student stations talking. Hey, Michael with XForcePC. So we've got our instructor station set up here and our students set up over there per the previous instructions, just putting the IP address into the proper boxes. Of course, you want to make sure that you don't have any firewalls blocking the communication, anything like that. But we've got these two talking, and there's a plethora of things that we can do now that we are the instructor. We can have all kinds of fun. A few things I'll point out to you, though. I recommend having the X-Plane be the same exact on both of them. Of course you have to be on the same version, but it'd be nice if you had the same airplanes, the same scenery, the same parts of the world loaded, just so you avoid any error messages. But I think technically if you don't have the scenery loaded over here on the instructor station, it'll still work. You'll just see water everywhere. The other thing is if you're using any of the USB dongles, sometimes referred to as the home use key or the pro use key, little dongles, they need to be the same on the two machines. If they're different, I believe it does throw you an error message. At least it does on network scenery, and it probably does on, I just haven't tried it, but my guess is you're going to get an error message if they're different. So I have both of mine the same on here. So now we'll start to look at some of the things that we can do, but I'll talk briefly about them, and then we'll look into more detail. But you can control the location, you can control the weather, you can control the time of day, you can control any and all functions of the airplane, whether they're failed or reading incorrectly. Like you can make the altimeter just read something incorrectly. You can make the de-icing not work. I mean, you can do pretty much anything. And I'm sure I'm forgetting some stuff here. But you can change the weight and the fuel. All kinds of stuff. And then you can watch it all. Of course, you can watch over the shoulder of the student if you're set up like we are. But you also have a map here that you can look at in various forms. You can get a satellite view and so forth. So we'll look at that in more detail now. Hey, so now we're looking at the instructor station, and to be honest with you, getting connected is probably the hardest part. Once you are connected, I think you can just pretty much play with this thing, and you can figure out, how all this stuff works. But up here we have where we are. We're at KJFK right now, and then we can pick any runway, any final approach that we want, and we can put the plane on that type of approach or that type of takeoff location. Now, we're seeing here the high-speed map. There's a low en route map. There's a high en route map. There's a sectional map, and there's a textured map. Of course, the textured map kind of looks like Google Earth. And you can zoom in by, scrolling your scroll wheel. And you can see right there the path of the plane. And right now you can even pause it. So right now I've got it paused, and I'm going to unpause it. And you see our plane moving there? We'll zoom out. But I'm going to pause it again because there's no one at the controls over there. And so this is really cool. We can, drag this map around, or we can have it actually center on the aircraft. And then the map will actually move. If we have it set to center on aircraft, the map will move as the plane moves. Now there's a lot of other interesting things, and this is where you just kind of play around. But over here on the right side, because my mouse pointer is small, you may not be able to see it, you can click on Set Time, and you can actually set the time of day that you want. Drag the sliders here wherever you want them and close it, and it'll change the time of day over on the student computer. You can click here and this button here, Set Weather, and of course you can actually set the weather and in great detail. You almost have to be a meteorologist to read some of this stuff, but you can change you can have multiple layers of clouds. You can set the tops and the bases. You can set the visibility. You can change the precipitation, storms, temperature. What else do we have? Runway conditions. You can make the runway conditions wet or damp or clean and dry. All kinds of stuff you can set with the weather. You name it, you can pretty much set it. And I'm not going to sit here and read every one to you. So let's go on to the next one, which is weight and fuel, right down here. And I think it's pretty obvious what you can set in here, but you can set clearly the weight and fuel. You can change the center of gravity, the amount of payload that you're holding, the amount of fuel, and how much is in each tank. Not going to spend a whole lot of time here. And then this is the fun one, down here on fail equipment. This is where it gets really extensive. And hopefully you can make this out on the video. Maybe I'll zoom in just a hair more. So we have all these different things we can play around with. So we have this stuff in the world that we can do, like we can make one of the doors open. We can make the fuel cap be off the plane. So basically you can remove the fuel cap from your student, and then the associated behavior will happen once that fuel cap is removed. You could put water in the fuel. You could set it to where someone's put the wrong gas in the plane. All kinds of things. So there's other things here. I'm not going to read every one to you. Over on the aircraft, you have all these different tabs. Electrical, autopilot, controls, landing gear, equipment, and de-icing. All those things can be made to fail, or they can simply be made to work improperly. So like the rudder trim actuator, well, let's go to something a little, see, let's go to roll control left. So you can set a mean time until failure, an exact time until failure, or fail at an exact speed. And you can simply make it completely inoperable. So the person can't roll the plane left at all. So what they would have to do is come around and only making right turns land the plane. Imagine how difficult that would be. And so you can fail any of this stuff or just make it fail at a particular time. Same with landing gear, toe brakes. Over on equipment, you know, all the various different things. You can have a slow depressurization, a rapid depressurization, a hydraulic leak, a hydraulic pump failing, and then the de-icing. All this stuff has to do with de-icing. You can make it fail. So you can really, you know, do your best to essentially kill the student and see if they can survive. Now, over on instruments, there's more fun. You can make various instruments screw up. The vacuum pumps, you can make those fail or just not be working properly. A lot of other settings on this page I'm not going to read to you. Your primary stuff, this is where it gets really fun, like the airspeed indicator. We can make it completely inoperable, or we can set an exact time for it to fail. The altimeter, we can, you know, do that as well. All the different primary instruments we can change and make fail. Same goes for navigation, the ADF, Nav1, Com1, the transponder, all this stuff. The engine, we can make the engine RPM. Now this is instruments, so it's not the RPMs of the engine we're changing here. It would be the instrument reporting the RPMs. And all these are other instruments, torque, manifold pressure. We can make all those instruments read incorrectly. We can make the GPS screw up and the G1000. So the Garmin 430 and the Garmin G1000, we can make it mess up as well. We're not done yet. We can go over to engines. We can make the engine simply not work. We can create a fire in the engine. Over on fuel and air, we can make various things mess up. We can break the starter. We can have a hung starter. And these are multiple tabs. Generators, batteries. We can make all the oil pump. We can make all those fail. The prop governor fail to. We can make it fail. The drive shaft. We can make it fail. Thrust reversers. It looks like what this is. We can make those fail. And again, de-icing. We can make that fail. Wings. We can go over to the wings. Somehow the left wing, we can make it not work. I'm not quite sure what happens when that happens, when your wing stops working. But anyway, they have the left and right wing listed here. I guess I don't know if the wing falls off or what. But anyway, it seems like that'd be pretty hard to survive. And then over on nav aids, we have a plethora of check boxes for things we can mess around with. So there's quite a few things that we can do here to this poor student. And you can all sit back there and you can sit back and watch it and grade them or test them or just have fun with the student. Now let's just show you, I'll show you a clip of some of the stuff not working. Hey, so now we're going to fail some stuff. Alright, so let's make the airspeed indicator inoperative, the artificial horizon inoperative, and the altimeter inoperative. Now, initially you may not be alarmed because it doesn't look like anything's wrong. But if you pay attention here, look, our artificial horizon is no longer changing. And I'm going to push the nose down here. Look, our airspeed's not going up. And our altimeter's not changing. That's because I just failed them over in the instructor station. I'll turn the engines up so you can hear them a little bit. So let's go ahead and make those operative again. I'm going to pause things for a moment. And notice those suddenly jumped whenever I turn those back on. So let's take the engine and let's make an engine fail. So take it off of pause. I'm going to fail the engine right now. Uh-oh. Did you hear that? The engine just cut out. And so, I'm moving the throttle and nothing's happening because my engine has just died. And we see our airspeed dropping. Now our altimeter starting to come down. And that's all because I changed it to inoperative on the instructor station. Now I'll change it to always working. And you hear the engine start back up. So let's make our roll control left inoperative. Roll control left. So I'm going to try to bank the wings to the left, and I can't do it. Now the machine's drifting left a little bit. The system's drifting left a little. I cannot turn this thing left. I've got the yoke turned, straight up and down, or 90 degrees, and we're not rolling over. We're just happen to be drifting left. Now I can bank it right, but I can't bank it back left again. And I simply go over, and if I want to make that work again, I say always working, and then now I can bank the wings to the left if I want to. So there's, you saw all the list of things. Obviously it works quite well, and you can have all kinds of fun, trying to basically kill your student or your friend and seeing if they can handle whatever emergency you throw at them. Let's do one more instrument not working. Let's do what do we want to do? The turn coordinator. Made that inoperative. So the turn coordinator here is now inoperative. And you notice if I bank to the right, it doesn't change. So those are just some examples. I mean, you can have all kinds of fun. You can change the time of day, the weather. And let's do some weather. Before we sign off here, let's do some weather. So let's see. We want to close this out. And I'm going to go over, I'm going to pause this for a moment. And we're going to do some weather. And let's make the storms and the precipitation horrible. Look at it change as I'm doing it. Severe turbulence. Well, let's put it on moderate turbulence. All right, and we'll unpause. And now look at that. It's raining. You can hear the rain hitting the plane. Oh, look, at some hail has actually dented the windscreen. And you see that we're bouncing around from the moderate turbulence that I've incorporated here. And it may be hard to pick up, but it is actually, you see the lightning there, and there is actually raindrops as well, but you probably can't pick that up on the on the camera too well. And then just as quickly as I do that, I can turn it all off, as well as the turbulence. And now, other than having some dings in our windshield, the weather is nice again. Now, if we want to be really mean, we can turn the visibility way down to extremely low levels. Let's make the visibility 5 miles. You see it's kind of foggy there, and then we can just crank the visibility down as low as we want to go. There's a little lower to where we can barely see anything. So it's a good way to simulate, a really rapidly approaching storm by modifying the weather like that and seeing if your student can handle it. Hopefully that helps you understand how the instructor and student workstation can work, can help you practice, help your son or daughter practice, your friend, or it can just be a lot of fun where you have someone messing with someone else and they try to figure out what the other person is doing to them and still survive. Okay, so I can't resist it. I got to show you a couple more things you can do. Obviously, we talked about the different types of maps you can use. You can see here, this is the textured map, and we can see the path that the plane is flying on. And we can actually tell it to center on the aircraft so that actually as the aircraft moves, so does the map, or we can turn that off and the map will stay put and the plane will move. I prefer to have it center on the aircraft. Of course, we can pause the simulation if we want. Now another thing we can do is we can actually take this, let's zoom out a little bit. Let's say, well, I want to have them, fly over this lake over here, or river, or whatever it is. You can take and drag the plane over there and drop it, and you can even change the heading if you want. And then this thing will change. Notice how it changed over here on the student's machine? I'll do that one more time. I'm going to take and drag the plane, dragging it over here over this water, and watch the student section or student machine change. And there it goes, it changed. I don't know if you could pick that up quite so easily. And then I'll drag it over here by this lush green, so you should see a bit of a difference here. So I'm dragging it right down here and letting go of it, and then it'll change over on the student machine. And we have it paused. See how it's a nice green area where we moved it to. And then the last thing, of course I have it paused and I can control that. When I close this instructor console, I can actually get a view of what the student is seeing. And so probably we want the 3D cockpit most likely, so we can look all around, but I'll unpause it. And we're actually seeing exactly what the student sees, except they've got their cockpit set to forwards with nothing. So we can do that, view forwards with nothing. And we're seeing what the student sees. Now, they've got a wider field of view than we do, so we're really just seeing what's on the middle monitor. And we can also bring that 3D cockpit back up too. And you can see we've still got this turn coordinator failed right here, so it's not does not appear to be working. I think I have yet to turn that back on. We want to get back into the instructor console, settings and net connections, and then we go to the instructor tab and then just close this tab or close this window, and we're back here. And let's go turn our turn coordinator back on. So I'm going to go to fail equipment, and then instruments. See, pilot turn indicator is inoperative. Let's make it always working, and you'll notice it change over there if you can see that. And it does. And now we've got all of our stuff working again. And let's center this on the aircraft, and we can see the path that the plane is flying right there. I think I've covered most of the high points of the instructor station and what you might want to, the functions you might want to use it for. And hopefully that gives you a good idea. And the main thing is just play with it, have fun. It's a great learning tool, and it can also be, entertainment as well.